How you doing, YouTube family? Today is Tuesday, June the 10th, 2025. Is your man Big D, and I'm back with another one. I want to thank all you good folk out there in YouTube land for continuing to rock out with my son and I. We appreciate it. Thank you. Well, family, I am back with another video, and in this one, there is a young lady that felt the need to come on these YouTube streets with some crazy ass advice that allegedly she received from her father. So without further ado, we gonna go on ahead and let this young lady go ahead and enlighten us a little bit because I'm gonna be honest with you. Big D is a C student. Yeah, I got a little education, but I'm not gonna sit up here in front and say I made straight A's in every subject. So I'm a C student. So I have to take things very, very slow. And you know, so we gotta kind of take everything with a grain of salt until we can do a little further investigation, right, family? So let's go ahead and see what this young lady talking about.
My daddy said that the reason
Mhm.
why you guys consider us masculine now is because the things that we do, you do.
Okay, so now you said the reason why your daddy told you. Now let's before we get there, before we talk about that, what the advice your daddy said that he gave you, let's talk about you, man. Now you got these umbrella eyelashes on. Uh, you know, ma'am, just listen. I can already see that you are low key masculine as hell. Low key masculine as hell. But okay, let's get on to what your daddy said. Your daddy said that basically men nowadays are doing what y'all doing. So it begs for two questions, right? Maybe a couple questions. How old is your daddy? I mean, how old is he? Is he 34? I mean, how old is your daddy? That's the first question. Second question is, what is the quality of your father? Is he perhaps has a career? Is he is he has he poured into society, meaning that he hasn't been a burden on society? And the third question is, where is he at currently in life? So until we can get some of those questions answered, we can only conclude that her respectfully, her pops gave her some ill guided advice, family. So it sounds to me, young lady, you want your ass a simp. You want a beta male because you just looking at you and the energy that you just displaying through the computer screen, you the type of chick that you want to be able to curse your dude out while getting your bike blowed out by any Pookie, Ray Ray, and Nook Nook. And this man supposed to just put up with it without saying nothing, without saying a damn word. Just not nothing. He just supposed to just walk off with his tail tucked in between his legs. So you don't want a man. You want you like I said, you want a beta male. You want yourself a simp. But let's go ahead and continue to listen to what this young lady have to say.
So, for instance, if a woman says something that you don't like, instead of you either just going, you know what, I agree to disagree, whatever, you want to argue with us. But you call that a feminine trait, or at least y'all used to. Now you guys no longer call those feminine traits. So when we speak up for ourselves, it's considered masculine. Have you ever figured that we're not masculine, you're just sassy?
So here's the thing to address that. So young lady, I don't know how your, I don't know respectfully. I don't know who your dad is. I don't know, you know, how he raised you and whatnot. But he gave you some pretty effed up advice because I'm of and I've been around for a long time. I've dated in different zip codes and all around, I done been some places. And one thing that I always held true to fight is that if a woman is getting out of pocket, meaning I.e. mean being disrespectful, or maybe she's saying something that maybe she don't know what she's talking about, she's misinformed, it is a man's obligation and duty to correct her. That's right. Men have been doing that for years. But now it's done been translated into, oh, men just sassy. No, y'all just nowadays y'all just masculine as hell because y'all have these imaginary balls that y'all think y'all have now because you feel like, well, you know, feminism done gave me these imaginary balls. And that's what the problem is. So y'all want to be able to talk to me in any old kind of way, be misinformed, be misguided, ill-guided, and a man's not supposed to correct you, especially if he is providing for you, if he is protecting you, and he's not supposed to be able to correct you, and you want to term that as being sassy? Okay.
No. Have you not figured out by now that calling men sassy doesn't work anymore? First of all, men have always argued. They argued in Parliament. They argued in Congress. They argue in a court of law every day. In fact, the only reason men didn't argue with women back in the day is because they used to do something else when women got to talking crazy. And I know y'all don't want to go back to that. The
100%. Back in the day, and I want an angry man to say it because I didn't want to be the one to say it. I wanted him to say it first. And I will 100% concur. Back in the day, see when women got in line back in the day, you know what I'm saying, hey, they might have got tuned up, you know. You embarrass your man out in public and see what happened when you got back home. You might have got tuned up. You might have had the raccoon eyes for a couple of days. And I'm not saying I agree with that, but times are different. So back then, you know what I'm saying, men ain't have to say much. They ain't have to say much. They just, you know what I'm saying, they just use that hands-on hands-on treatment, that hands-on training. That's all they did. They just went hands-on. And that's the way it was back then. Now, I'm not saying I agree with that, and I'm not saying that that was right, but that was the way back then, and that was acceptable back then to a certain degree. Now, obviously, there was, if men went overboard, because back then men were going overboard and could had the propensity to go overboard and seriously injure or hurt the woman or potentially kill a woman. But let's go ahead and see what Angry Man got to add to this.
funny thing about it is you want men to treat you the way men treated women before y'all got equality. So basically, when you say something that is illogical, irrational, or just wrong, you want men to look at you and say, oh, pay her no mind. She's just a woman. Isn't that contrary to everything y'all fought for? Don't you want us to take you seriously? Part of us taking you seriously is actually listening to what you're saying, and if it's wrong, challenging it. Why don't you put your big girl pants on instead of making excuses for why men shouldn't challenge the things you say? You wanted equality, now you have it.
So the problem is, Angry Man, is that this young lady from the onset of this whole video, she said her daddy gave her this. My daddy told me this. That's what she said. So we got to go to the root of the problem. Sounds to me Like 90% of the problems start with her daddy because he gave her some effed up advice, in my opinion. First of all, I don't believe that a woman should be going back and forth and challenging a man in such a way that she is presenting herself like I'm on the same level as you, meaning like I'm a dude just like you, and we can and I'm okay with going blow to blow. That's why men, that's why men should be ever so careful about getting into arguments and especially over petty stuff because two men can do serious damage to each other if not up to if not up to death. So men have to be ever so careful. So, women get into a spat. Yeah, I'm not saying another woman can't F another woman up, but not on it's not gonna be on par with two grown ass men when one weighing 200 pounds, other weighing 240. I mean, it's just the propensity of the damage that could happen between these two men is just off the Richter scale. So that's what I mean by women nowadays. They just feel like they can just, man, they don't just know how to. I'm not saying a woman can't present her case, logically present her case, and give her points of view. That makes for interesting conversation. But when it gets to the point that women start inserting some bullshit and it's very illogical, and she's reaping the benefit of my successes, my hard work, my grind, and I can't correct you. Now, if I can't correct you and you gotta be right in everything and you ain't never wrong, that mean that there's no you done growing. And if you done growing, that means that you are the picture of perfection and you don't have no room for improvement. So that means that basically I just gotta put up with your bullshit while parting ways with my resources. And I better not say a damn thing about it, or I'm labeled a sassy. Man, get the hell out of here with this. It's crazy. This other bullshit. But this what it's come to. But we gotta look at it from the bare bones of it. She said her daddy. Her daddy. So where did her daddy get this crazy ass mentality from that? Or man, a woman just supposed to talk crazy and just say illogical bullshit, and you just supposed to just like, okay, whatever it off and just let her keep carrying on. No, you're supposed to correct her and tell her, hey, you know what? You were wrong and you might want to go do some research. Or hey, you're wrong. You might want to go do some soul searching. We all should be able to give each other, men and women, just like a woman should be able to give a man positive input that he should take. And maybe it's some things he might need to fix. But just because a man corrects a woman, that don't make him sassy. But what say you, family? Is it okay for a woman to just say what the hell she want, be disrespectful, whatever, and you just supposed to just shrug it off, and whatever, or if you correct her as you supposed to do, you just you're a sassy ass dude. So what you think about that? Well, family, always remember, be more tomorrow than you were yesterday. Peace.